You want to keep any energy that you build up charged, like through talismans, tinctures, stones, wrapped in silk or plastic to keep the energy from flying off. But I guess that'll be more or less John's discussion when he tells about the Portae method, how to charge those and wrap them. Let's see. We have about a half an hour. Any questions on the material? No. Any questions on the research that we're doing with aura?
Is there any relationship between, or what is the relationship between the Portae material and the Qabalah class material?
Probably not a lot. The Qabalah course is about 20 years old, and it was translated out of French and based on old Golden Dawn material. So in some ways it's getting out of date. It's getting a little stale and needs to be brought up to speed. In other ways, it's very unique and offers methods of initiation that those schools don't even seem to have a clue about. I think probably the thing that stands out the most is that when we do hexagram and planetary rituals, we combine them in a method that no one else does in order to create greater density on the inner worlds. So that you can, when you have a dream life, your dream life is almost as real as this one. And that's done by doing progressive planetary and hexagram rituals. So you would do an invocation of the moon, because that's the world immediately above ours. And then you would say do an earth ritual with it so that you can have some solid sense of being there. And then you would do a water ritual so that you can have more of a feeling sense of what it's like there. And then you would do an air ritual so that you can have a clearer, broader perspective on it. And then a fire one to bring some energy into it. And then you would do a spirit or quintessence ritual to harmonize all of that and jettison out to the next level. Now how long that takes, that's up to you and up to a lot of other things. But that approach is really unique. I've never seen that anywhere else. So that was one of the things that really stuck in my mind. I think when studying techniques like this, when you study anything, it's really important to notice what is different more than what is the same, because that can give you an avenue into their insights. But the Portae, I don't think there's much relationship, because it's coming from a top-down initiation, much more similar to talismanic magic in the way that it uses astrological cycles and planetary hours. And then it involves heavily a lot of divine grace. You can prepare for it, but you can't force it. Whereas these you can, if you want, you can force it a little bit.
And none of that's available.
The Portae material has been available in oral form from the last two conferences, and I think he's going to discuss the technique tomorrow. But the actual printed coursework of 12 lessons or 3 or whatever he's doing, I don't think that's available. And Russ, what did he say about that? Probably not for another year? 6 months?
The time is warm up. Is not fixed because a couple of things. One is he's still having experiences. And when it's finished, he'll finish it. The other one is that his wife is, in a sense, helping to make sure that the material is very accessible. She's not only very precise and correct in her French language use, but will also read the lessons with a great deal of understanding and say, okay, what do you mean by this? And so the explanations of what was meant by that are becoming, so that the courses will be less dense in some ways than the typical, let's do this with a sledgehammer so you can get it over quick. Approach. In a sense, we might say it's being tempered somewhat by his wife, who's acting as a collaborator. So this process is ongoing and unfolding.
And they'll have to be translated.
Pardon me?
And then they'll have to be translated.
Yes, but perhaps once it's some portion of it is kind of a ramp, so to speak, is known. I think the translation, at least the first pass translation, will go pretty rapidly. Then we'll do 2 editorial improvement passes, and we would rather not distribute a bad copy. I actually haven't, not the most recent one, but something like mine. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I can say from what the rudimentary notes that he gave the last two times, and following the procedures and working at some of the kinks, it was very effective. Deceivingly so. So.
We know of people that had enough information from the videotape and from conference notes to do the experiments this past July.
Okay. What we're going to talk about for the remainder of our time is the Aura project. It will describe the lucid dreaming experiment so you can all walk away with a first-hand idea as to what we're doing. Okay, as we said, you focus on your throat, make it nice and big. So do it now. Close your eyes, separate your feet, put your hands on your lap, unclasped. Breathe deep for about 2 minutes, as we did before, counting into 4, holding to 4, exhaling to 4, holding out for 4. And just do that, and then focus on your throat. And imagine a giant indigo ball there, about the size of maybe a melon. Well, nice and big and brilliant and luminous, bluish black or kind of ultraviolet, whichever is easiest for you. And feel the area being charged, pulling the energy in. It doesn't matter if it extends, beyond your neck. It should. Just imagine it. And visualize it. Nice and big and luminous. And then in the center of it, imagine, almost as though you were looking at the back of your neck, or almost as though you were looking at the back of your head, imagine the sign of quintessence, or if you like fire or earth, whichever, or a planetary sign that you'd like to have some understanding with, in brilliant colors. Nice bright white. And hold that there. Hold that image. And that's it. That's the technique. And you do that as you fall asleep at night. And that's all there is to it. And you just work your way progressively through these symbols. You can do one a week, or you can do one a week for each of these, and then do the symbol for the planetary day, like Moon on Monday, Mars on Tuesday. Okay? And do that for maybe 7 weeks. You want a complete cycle, a complete cycling through of all the energies. And that's all there is to it. It's nice, it's simple, it's direct. It's not going to blast you out like some projection exercises do, but that's why it was developed, to give you an easier way of transitioning, an easier way of waking up on the other side of the first veil. And since you have all of this in your copies of the stone, we encourage you to keep a dream notebook too. I mean, that says that you're serious about it. Your subconscious mind respects that and responds to it. Otherwise, it's kind of like saying, hey, I want to talk to you. Excuse me, but can we talk about something? Oh, I'll be right there. I want to talk to you. But, that's what you're doing. You're saying, I want something from you, and then you ignore it. And that's really what we say illness is, in a sense. Illness and pathology is when our bodies or our subconscious are trying to tell us something, and we just keep ignoring it often enough till it finally whacks us so hard that we can't ignore it anymore. So the way to get around that is to pay attention. When your subconscious tells you something, pay attention to it. Write it down. See how it connects to other parts of your life.
Mark?
Yes?
Can you meditate or concentrate on more than one?
One at a time?
Evening? I mean, no, not more than one at a time, but can you do more than one a particular evening, or should you just focus
Just
on
stick with the one. Just stick with the one.
What's the best way to cycle?
Well, start with earth, then go to water, then air, and then fire. It's in the handout. Then quintessence, and then moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun. Through the tree. That's what you're doing. You're working your way up through the tree.
Mark, what handout are you talking about?
The article in the stone on lucid dreaming. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this one also on the internet? Do you remember?
No, but you can put it there.
Okay.
Now, for the other exercise that we're doing, the other experiment that seems to have people are interested in is the one we're doing on secret fire. And there are several copies of that going to be made available later on if folks are interested in it. And it's exercises focusing around in theories as well. I think the big part to stress is a lot of it is very theoretical around how the Kundalini phenomena, how we experience it, or what stages in growth we experience it during alchemical and Kabbalistic practice. It's mostly Kabbalistic because that's what I understand the best, but you are welcome to read it, to practice the exercises, and give me some input. And if you like, we could try one of the exercises now. Make you all sweat it up. The easiest one is based on the name. As you know, we call this what? Adam Kadam, the first man, the big guy, the truly big guy, This is it. Fire, air, water, earth. And in Hebrew, there's usually a dot there to show that's the final hay. And what we try to do is take this energy and move it back up. Simple enough, huh? That's what all this is about. Moving the energy from one place to another, from dense to most subtle. And Russ sent me you sent me literature from a website that suggested some of the material in this project is similar to 14th century Spanish Jewish mysticism. Yeah. So what I'd like you to do is to visualize the name, okay? Visualize it as brilliant black fire on a white background. And identify with it. Let it merge with you. Imagine the yod as your head, the hay as your shoulders, the vow as your spinal column, the hay, the final one, as your legs. And imagine that. And hold on to that in your meditation. And as you do this, you can also do that fourfold breath we did earlier. Inhaling to 4, holding to 4, exhaling to 4, holding out to 4. And do that for about a minute or two, and then I'll take you through the next step. Need to develop the qualities of visualization and focus for these kinds of activities. And the best way to concentrate is to imagine it before you and feel yourself drawn to it as though you were being reeled in like a fish on a line. Just be pulled to it. Brilliant burning letters. The yod is at your head. The hay, your shoulders and arms, the vow, your spine, and the final hay, your hips and legs. And feel a sense of solidity with that final hay, just as you would a sense of great heat and fire with the yod. Now, as you are doing your fourfold breath, notice that the flame, the yod, expands and grows warm when you hold your breath, grows bright when you exhale, and stays nice and bright on the hold. Now feel a line of fire and light pull down from that yod through you, through your body, into the final hay, through your hips and legs into the earth beneath you, the center of the earth, and feel it there. The fire of creation is hidden in the act of creation itself. Inhale again, feeling the light come down. Hold it at that center of the earth beneath you. And as you exhale, see the light go back up. Back up through you, up through your spine, back to the yod of its origin, and hold out. Nice and bright. And repeat that. The inhale, it goes down. The light and fire goes down, and you hold it. And then on the exhale, it goes up. And it stays light, bright, and luminous. And repeat that. Always the energy is moving through you. You are a part of it. It is a part of you. Now, when you'd like, bring the energy up for a final time. Continue your breathing in that fourfold breath for several more cycles, and then open your eyes when you're ready. Okay. That's like part one of maybe, I think, 4 or 5 phases to that exercise. It centers around the fourfold breath in terms of inhaling, in terms of intake and regulation of energy. It's pretty simple. I wanted something that anyone could do, but I think internally there's some, it's very potent. Yes?
Do you find that you almost get dream state flashes? Does it start to happen? And I'm starting to do that. I don't know if that's just because I'm tired or...
That's because of the rhythm. You're building up a rhythm. And that rhythm, that harmonizing and rhythm allows you to go into, penetrate the first veil. That's the dream world. So you penetrate in the first veil. Yeah. Anyone get warm? How warm? Real warm? You should try part 2. You'd be sweating. That's why we've limited the exercise to only a few minutes each time. There's another one which I really like, and it works off the triangle of the heart. And if you'd like, I'll take you through that. But if you need a drink of water, please get it. I know I do from talking all this time. Hey, Kurt, I thought you were going to get me iced tea.
Oh.
Esoteric exercise where you feel that kind of energy build up. Take a nice cold glass of water and drink it and ground it out. The next exercise is a little more complicated in the imagery that we use, but a lot of people like it. It's based on the theory that the inner energy can be accessed very easily and safely through the heart or the inner self. That way, essentially, what we do is we let the inner master decide where and when the awakening is to take place and how. This idea is fairly strong in Western esotericism, and you also see it in some schools of yoga. It's really cool because when putting together a lot of these programs for the Aura Project, as the ideas were unfolding, information would come that would show links of these ideas to other established systems. Basically saying, yeah, you're going in the right direction. We didn't care when we started, but it's nice to have that after the fact. So you have to trust yourself. And how did these projects come about? Someone give me the answer. How did they come about? Not only an inner impulse, but paying attention to what happens when you do the exercises by writing them down. Saying, I did this, this, and this happened. Is there a way to refine it? Make it easier for someone else? Or take it to a different level? So none of the experiments, none of the lessons, none of the notes came about out of people's heads. They didn't just say, oh, I'm going to do this. They had a lot of notes and a lot of experience that we are bearing the fruit of. So if you want to pass something on to future generations, one of the best things you can pass on is your own notebook of your inner journey. So, have you figured out what the gospel of the day is?
Write it down.
Good. Fix it. Okay, this exercise is a little easier, and it focuses on the heart. So, assume the position. And imagine, if you will, the great sphere of light above your head. Say a prayer. This is your self, your highest self. This is something you can get to know. This is what you want to have conversation with. This is the divine spark unsullied by anything. And pull it down through a breath into your heart. Imagine a hollow place in your heart, a small vacant area that you can enter into and commune in. And as you enter into it, you find that it is a great warm spot. And and that you're sitting underneath a giant pyramid. The walls are open though, so it's kind of like a pyramid that you would sit under for meditation, and it's made of fire. And around the base of it is a giant serpent with its tail in its mouth. And develop that image. And as you inhale, to the count of 4, feel the energy build up. As you hold it, feel the fire around you on the outside grow warm. And as you exhale, feel it flame brightly. And then hold out. And continue this. Continue this visualization. And notice that the serpent begins to stir ever so slightly. And continue with your inhalation and the growing heat and the exhalation. Very good. And notice now that the serpent begins to spiral upward around the outside of the pyramid of fire, and finally raises straight up with its tail within touching the pyramid. And allow yourself to move up through it and to look out through its eyes. And now spiral it back down slowly, ever so slowly, until it returns to its place of rest with its tail in its mouth again. And now become aware of the beating of your heart as you leave that place within it. And become more aware of your breathing in your body. And then when you're done, say a prayer of thanks to your higher self for whatever it may have taught you or shown you, and open your eyes. Whenever you're ready. I think we did that for about 5 minutes. I think the first one was about 5 minutes too. They're pretty short, but you could do them longer, but you have to gauge that for yourself, what you're comfortable with. Did anyone respond to that one differently or better than the first one? No? Yeah, I see. Raise your hands. Let me know. I got to know if you like this stuff. Otherwise, we not have to know research-wise whether you're getting responses to it. Okay. First one was easier? And what?
I think more because there's more going on.
Okay. Yes?
For me, the first one was more light, bright light, and this one was more calming and kind of more, little darker, not darker in the sense of negativity, but everything is more subtle and more sound.
And that's what I believe, that this experiment there, here with the heart, is much more subtler. That's what the theory suggests. The theory and background on the heart for awakening the Kundalini suggests a softer, gentler awakening. The theory for this one suggests no guts, no glory.
You know, it was interesting. The first one seemed hotter, but the second one seemed warmer.
Ah, yes. In a bit. And what's the difference between that? This is energy, heat, but the warmth is a nurturing, growing kind of thing. It's funny, when after this was all done and written and finally finished, at least to its present state, it'll be redone again, because I found that some of the material is not, it's too dense for someone who doesn't have a background in Kabbalah. That the language that we use is identical to a small school of yoga in India, in which they refer to the awakening of the Kundalini through the heart, or the big king, in which we awaken it through the little king. So if you pay attention to what's going on within you, and you write these things down, and you do the exercises regardless of whether you understand the theory, stuff will awaken and happen for you. Okay. There's a lot more exercises to that experiment, but those are the easiest ones that we can do quickly. A couple things. One of the advantages, you may say to me, Mark, why is it that you have all this this almost encyclopedic knowledge of useless esoteric stuff, of how their different schools run their programs? And that's because, being part of the Philosophers of Nature and the Occult Research and Applications Project, as well as various other and sundry positions, people send me things for free to read. So I get a lot of books sent to me for review. Most of them are nice. Rarely do I endorse someone's book, except reading this was like reading my own notebooks. So I suggest it to you. The philosophy is very much in tune with what we suggest. So if you'd like to have a quick and dirty look at Kabbalah, I suggest you take a look at it. Of course, most importantly, I suggest you get the course material, because that is what we teach and practice. But this is filled with some good stuff.
Did you read his earlier book?
Yes, I did. Yeah. That was on pathworking. Yeah. Normally I don't endorse things like that, but he is going to be helping us out with an alchemy seminar in Seattle, so good things go around. And what else? What else do we have going on? Anyone see the article in Atlantis Rising on the Alchemist resurrection? Yeah, you saw it? Okay. There's a couple copies here if you want to look at it. Guess who features prominently in it? Who could it be? Who could it be? Who's that guy? Does he know he's even in here? Did you show him this?
No, because he'll beat you up.
I know. The problem is
I don't know if he's seen this one.
the problem is he'll do it psychically. That's the problem, you know.
You can use the bench.
That's right, I can, but can I hold it long enough?
For a count of 4.
Yes, and then
The bashing ritual.
the bashing ritual, yeah.
That's the one John used.
That's the one you, AKA, yes, yes.
Pretends like he didn't understand the English.
That's when Saturn just comes straight down on you and teaches you a lesson.
That's when infinity becomes little.
Yeah. So yes, roadkill on the astral highway. So that is it's a good one. That is essentially the seminar for this afternoon. This evening we'll be starting at 7 o'clock, is it?
7:30.
7:30, and we'll talk for maybe an hour and a half on the middle pillar, assumption of the God form, and we'll be practicing both of those. So there'll be less theory this evening and more practice, so that you can get some feel for it. Unfortunately, the problem with this workshop is, or anything that we do like it, is that you have to spend a lot of time going over the basics for folks who don't know it, and that's fine. But even then, it's still, you're stuck with the so what. I mean, Qabalah is very much of, even when it's clear, it's not clear, except when Jean does it. So just accept that and know that the growth is in the techniques, and if you practice them, you will grow.
Mark,
Yes, yeah, please.
You said you mentioned before that some of the things didn't work, that the Qabalah might not be for them, but I found that when I started with the Golden Dawn stuff when I was real young, I did a lot of, the visualization is the key. It may not be so much that it may not be for you, it just may be that you're not good at visualizing. I practiced the topical cards, like memorizing a candle frame, and once you get a couple of those little tools down, it all becomes simple and everything clicks in.
Yep.
The whole key might be just making practice visualization. But I also found the visualization, this got led to, like, whenever I come up with an idea in my head, I create a whole visual thing. I create like a whole scenario and an 8mm super VHS thing, and I see these things, and I create these whole things in my mind. And sometimes I'll document them when they get very technical, but when I'm actually like building things and doing things, I'm playing back this whole visual.
That's right.
Clear in my mind, and that became through all this kind of practice, and everything else just starts becoming easy.
Well, and that's really a good way of showing how this is practical in our daily life. People ask me how is it that I can remember all this inane historical trivia, and I like to say on occasion, well, past life memory, but that's probably not much of it. The fact is that when I read things, it's a picture image to me. It is a film, a video that I can play, and so you will find that your basic cognitive skills are developed through this. That you bring things into your daily life. You're clearer, you're more focused, you're better able to imagine, you're better able to express yourself, you're better able to do a lot of things through your magical techniques. They're not separate from your daily life, and they shouldn't be.
Has anybody looked at whether it's easier for, quote, right-brain people to do the visualization, left-brain people to do maybe the lab work, the more technical work? Has there been any thought about that?
I think that that's a nice theory, but I think it gets into this stuff of like men's mysteries and women's mysteries and all this kind of polarizing crap. I think the most important thing to realize is that at Tifereth, the brain is harmonized, everything's harmonized, everything's brought into balance and in unity, and there is none of that, well, there's some, but you don't have that, well, I'm left brain, I'm right brain. You got a whole brain, develop all of it. And you got a whole system of psychic centers here, develop all of them in harmony. So that's my other gospel for the evening. And I think it's time for dinner. Thank you for coming and listening to me.
Dinner's at 6.
There's a 6 we have.
Oh, free time? Okay.
If I could turn dirty or something.
She's running.
Okay, are we ready? Everybody take a seat, please, and we'll get started. And those folks who are late and are missing all the good stuff, well, that's their problem.
You're going to walk in and just say, and that concludes the...
Yeah. Glad you didn't miss that one. Whoops.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, sure.
Can we close the doors? There's people out there? Then close the doors. It'll give them the sign, it's time to get in here. I mean, they don't have to.
Unless they have more important business.
They're free to ignore me. I mean, you're free to ignore me too. I don't.
But you can't ignore us.
Well,
Well, you could.
They can make a lot of noise. Yeah.
I already made all the noise. I got a headache from it. Okay, what we're going to do for the next hour and a half is we're going to do more practical stuff.
Hey, Mark?
What?
Can you leave this open?
You can leave it open.
Because that controls the air conditioning.
That's fine.
It controls the sensors out there.
Okay.
There's nobody out there.
And there's nobody out there, the office is closed.
Okay. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go through 3 of the main techniques, and I'll tell you where they fit within the Pond's Qabalah course as well as the Golden Dawn once again. Those techniques happen to be the middle pillar, assumption of the God form, and well, that's really it. It's going to be 2, and we're going to practice that on different levels. Most of you are familiar with the middle pillar exercise? Okay. The middle pillar exercise is kind of a Western version of Qigong, or where you essentially establish principal psychic centers within your imagination and within what we call your sphere of sensation. Your sphere of sensation is your aura, okay? It is how you perceive the universe. We all perceive each other through our auras. And it's a nice way of saying we perceive each other through our psyche on a psychoanalytic level, through our perceptions, our unconscious perceptions. But what we do is we ritually imagine, as we did before. Remember when I said imagine the spheres of light? We imagine spheres of light. We often do them in different colors. We charge them with different divine names or mantras. And then we circulate the energy. And we circulate the energy in different ways, mostly circular patterns. But we do it around ourselves, left to right, right to left, front to back to front. And we also do it up and down the physical body axis. And what this does is helps us to establish the tree of life within us as a living, vital organism for the path of return, instead of just an abstraction, a so what. So we end up getting these energies flowing down, flowing up, flowing all around, and in a way in which we can perceive them, in which we can direct and manipulate them for health and well-being. I think it's important that we look at this primarily, at least the first few times we do it, more than that actually, probably the first several thousand times we do it, as more psychotherapy than psycho-initiation. Because we're cleaning out both physical blocks and psychological blocks that impede the flow of energy so that we can reach or experience higher levels to some degree. This is given in the last year of the pond material. Traditionally, it was given somewhat late in the Golden Dawn as well. You would not get it till you'd been in maybe 4 or 5 years. Why that is, no one seems to really have a good answer. It's a very good technique. It's a very effective technique. And the book, The Middle Pillar by Israel Regardie, talks all about it and gives you everything you need to know. So a lot of people have changed that now, and they've moved it down lower into their teaching curriculum. I think it would be wise for us to consider doing the same, but at the same time, it's so freely available that I can just tell you where to get the material and you can begin doing it. Has anyone done any G work before, like any Qigong or Kundalini Yoga? Yeah, I know. And you got the scars on the back of your head to prove it, right? Yeah. We'll compare later, okay? Yeah. And that has different effects. That Qigong tends to work very directly on the etheric body and has very profound heat effects and very profound physiological effects quite early. The middle pillar works on a different level. It tend to be more mental or astral in that respect, and it takes a great deal longer time before those effects begin to sink down into the etheric. You can force the issue a little bit. There's ways to manipulate your thought patterns to get it there a little earlier. But for most of us, because we tend to live in a very intellectual world, a very structured and mental world, one filled with a lot of concrete things, it's just our simple cultural aspects that keep it more mental in orientation. What I'd like you to do is now begin some basic exercises to begin to sense this. And it would be all right for you to spread out a little bit. That is, those of you in the front maybe to split and move to the back unless you need to sit here to hear me. I'd like to have a little space between you and the person next to you.
We were all set. We're naturally separated.
Okay. The technique gets its name from the idea that, as we said, there are the tree of life consists of 3 pillars. One expansive, the other contractive, and we harmonize these forces within ourselves in the middle pillar. This should be realized, as those of you, most of you know this, to be in the middle here is not to be neutralized. It is a very difficult place to be, because you have both forces coming into you and you have to equilibrate them. It's easier to go to one side or the other. That's why it's always easy to be partisan politic. Or it's always easy to be a religion. Because as soon as you have a position and a dogma, you don't really have to do much else. Whereas to be in the middle is to experience the flow of light and begin to perceive equally the validity of many different perspectives. So it is a more difficult position to hold. We energize our principal psychic centers. It would be wrong to think of these as chakras as they do in yoga, but not completely. Fundamentally, we bring in energy in clusters, as opposed to specifically doing 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 psychic centers in the brain. We kind of do them all at once. The throat, the heart solar plexus, the sexual organs in the feet. We do them as a group. Many people say, why the feet? Well, the feet are what we contact the earth with. We have psychic centers in the feet, although we rarely sense them as such or use them. In a sense, it's what we're using when we're standing or sitting in a chair, as opposed to the base one at the base of the spine. You'll find that they're directly connected. And this is more clear in Qigong, where the feet, the knees, the perineum, and the base of the spine are viewed as a unit, not as separate.
Like this.
Right.
Position.
They're brought together. And most of the time, how is it, Kurt? We're sitting like this, so they're actually set.
Sitting right over. Yeah.
Right. So we pull the energy in this way. We pull it up through the feet, to the knees, to the perineum, to the base of the spine. Whereas if you're sitting on the floor, you're pulling it in more directly. So this is, once again, a cultural thing. We notice it more there. Or at least we experience that rootedness more through our feet. Some of you may feel this too during purification. If you do a lot of energy work, when you're urinating and you're excreting toxins, you'll feel your feet flare, because it's purification. You're excreting the energy that's you want to get rid of. You also feel it in your knees. That's why some people, like after sex, when they have an orgasm, a really good one, they get weak in the knees. Because the energy, not in your head, yeah. I'm glad someone admits to it. Nah, we're all prudes here. We don't know about sex. I'm glad I went. Well, if we were a Wiccan group, special initiations for some of you.
Research, volunteer.
Half price.
That's right, half price. So my point is, although we're dealing with a large cluster of energy as a ball at the bottom of our feet, it is connected to several other areas, whether we know it or not. And the only way you're going to know it is through experience, and the experience is working with the exercise. Same thing with all of these. They all have clusters, and you will, the more you work with it, the more you'll be able to notice the fine details of it, as to whether the top of your head, the center of your head, the back of your head is being charged that particular day more than another, whether it's your heart or your cardiac plexus, and the nerve areas more than the physical organ or the thymus. So we deal with them as a group, but there's more to it than just that. And this is where your exercises and your ability to keep documentation of your experiences is very important, because that will show you where certain psychic channels are opening up within you. Okay. Do the fourfold breathing as you did before. And we're just going to do it for 2 minutes. What's nice about this exercise is you can pretty much do it alone. You don't have to do any other ritual with it. Yeah, once you get good at it. Inhale to the count of 4, hold it. Exhale to the count of 4, hold out to the count of 4. Now visualize a brilliant white ball of light above your head, as you did before. Just touching the top, just gently caressing it. So brilliant, like burning phosphorus. And see it pulse with your breath and grow bright. Contemplate that point as your highest self, your personal Keter, your personal divine crown. An endless and unlimited source of energy, inspiration, guidance, the seed of God within you. Pull as though it were on a fine and luminous thread, a line down from it to the level of your throat. And now feel the ball form there as well, large and brilliant and white. Feel the area grow warm. Think of this as energizing your throat and your throat area that you might better express divinity. Come to understand the nature of the word, the power of speech and creation. In principe erat verbum, in the beginning was the word. This is our great power, our first and foremost creative power. Energize that. Feel the fine thread now go down to the area of the heart. And feel this grow large and warm as well. And you can forget about the other two centers if you like. You don't need to maintain them in your visualization. We'll come back to them later. Just focus on the one that you're at. This is where you will have knowledge and expression of your divine self. Your intuition will speak to you through the awakened heart. Feel this is the place of divine love and harmony within you, that you might express it better. And feel it grow warm and pulse with every beat of your heart. Now feel a thin thread go down from there through the center of your body to your sexual organs, and feel them grow warm, and feel the ball form there. This is your creative power. And it is connected to speech. where the throat contains within it a secondary sexual organ. And we said you can charge that like a battery to take up excess energy. But for most of us, our most immediate way of impacting on physical creation and to physically create is sexually. And it's also where we have most of our psychological blocks and disturbances and hang-ups. The root of our unconscious is found there. Contemplate your relationship to these ideas as you imagine the ball grow warm and pulsating. Now send a small thread down to the bottom of your feet to form a ball that you half stand in. It's half beneath your feet. And this is your connectedness to the material world. This is your action, your manifestation in this life. Imagine that sphere growing large and warm and brilliant, that you can manifest and direct more of this cosmic power that flows through you, through this central channel. More divine love, more divine expression, more divine creation, and divine being. That you express it more and manifest it fully. Contemplate those ideas as you see the sphere of light grow strong and brilliant. It should grow very warm, even hot. Now focus your attention to the sphere at the top of your head again and imagine all 5 spheres aligned. And as you inhale, pull energy from that sphere down the left side of your body. And imagine well your physical body. Take your time to imagine it and feel this energy coursing over it and through it and just beneath the level of the skin. And feel it cleaning off any obstructions that may be there. And seeing it hit the feet. And then on the inhale, if you like, or if you need a separate breath, pull the energy up your right side, feeling once again this cleansing going on. And just keep this cycle going, and I'll tell you when to move on to the next phase. Pay attention as you do this. Pay attention to your cells and feel them be swept clean and energized. Eventually this energy will sink deeper and deeper and deeper until even you feel your bones being cleansed. But for now, let it be like a psychic scrub and cleansing waters just flowing over you, going down and up. From head to toe on the left and from back up on the right. And then, after you've completed a cycle and you find yourself back at your feet again, pull the energy up your back and down your front and feel it cascading and cleansing in these directions. Up the back, down the front. Feel it penetrating just below the skin as well. Feel a warmth and a tingling that goes with it. Imagine the colors as bright. Silver blue or whitish blue, a brilliant psychic energy. And then when you reach the top of your head, spin the energy in a large circle out to your left, connecting with your feet, coming up your right side in a large circle so that you're in a sphere. And circulate the energy in that direction, from left to your feet, and then feet up the right side of your head, up the right side to your head. Spin the circle. And feel this spin well like a fluid fire. There's a lot of connections between the feelings that you have here and the descriptions of Mercury. This is a very fluidic and fiery energy. And then stop and spin it the other way. And then when you're done, go from back to front. Create another circle. From your back to the top of the back of your head to the front. Make the circles large, even if they expand slightly beyond the balls and the spheres that you've created. Nice and large and luminous, and feeling the energy flowing on these courses that you're directing them. And then if you like to stabilize it, you can spin a circle around the level of your waist if you need to do that to help stabilize the energy at this point. You can do that. Bring your attention to your feet. See the glow and the heat and the warmth. And as you inhale, feel the energy shoot or explode through your body to the top of your head to Keter. And as you exhale, see it rain down like water, a burning smooth water on the outsides of this shell that you've created, this imagined sphere, the edges of your aura, cleansing and harmonizing and smoothing out any rough spots, cascading down the edges of it and collecting back again at your feet. As once again you inhale and it shoots up, and complete this cycle several times. Try to harmonize it with your breath if you can, but don't worry if you can't. And then when you're done, just focus on your heart center as you've done, and meditate there for a few minutes. And then when you like, you can breathe deep and open up. Open up your eyes. That was the quickie version, by the way. Yeah. That's fundamentally the basic exercise. It does get slightly more developed in which you would visualize specific colors with each of the spheres, and you would energize them with particular divine names. But that's fundamentally it. And when the Golden Dawn originally taught this exercise, it was even a little bit less than that. Well, that was about it. They taught the energizing the centers with white light, telling you to imagine it like a brilliant diamond, and then to circulate the energy and see your aura as a brilliant diamond, and they left it at that. It then became more developed by Israel Regardie later on when they started adding different colors and divine names. You want to talk about that for a little bit? How was that for some of you who've never done anything like that before?
Very relaxing.
Yeah. Did you find that some centers were easier to focus on than others? Like which ones? I see some your heads nodding. That's the giveaway. I call on you when you do that. So yeah. The heart center is easier. The feet are the hardest, right? They're the ones we tend. What? Yeah, well. Yeah, but you nodded before when I asked about sex, so that explains it.
Oh, I better keep my mouth shut. Sorry.
Well, some people, it's true. I even tell some people to take their shoes off and really rub the center of their feet to really loosen it up. Because, you carry a lot of tension on them from walking all day, and it's good to just sit there and, loosen it up and get it relaxed so that you can focus on it. Yes?
I'm still having trouble staying focused. It's like going in and out so much. Does that come as you work with it? Or doesn't it matter if you do that?
Well, it depends on what you're being distracted by. If you're getting some good information, that's all right. If you find it's just distracting, then, just try and let it go and just stay on the task at hand. It's not uncommon, especially when learning something new, because what I've given you appears to be this massively complex issue when it's really not. It's a very simple exercise, but when you learn it new, it's step by step by step, and it's easy to get distracted because you're thinking about so many things.
I mean, it's more the dream state, just losing
Well, tell me what you bring back. Tell me what you bring back, Tell me who you're chatting with. Maybe someone if it's Elvis, get an autograph, Come on.
Hasn't been anything that exciting.
Yeah. Who else? Tell me a little bit about it for those who haven't first time round. Yes. No, when you're all cowards, you won't speak up. So you're all experts at this, Stein. You've done this so many times. There's nothing new to tell us? Yeah. Okay.
My feet felt like they had lightning bolts.
Yeah. And where did you feel it exactly? Right in the where?
I'd say in the center of the arch.
Yeah. Right about here?
Yeah.
Because that's where you connect. And what you'll do is you can actually, just as you have 5, same thing with your toes. You draw in different qualities of energy through them. And you also excrete different qualities of energy through them. Yes?
I became extremely hot.
Yeah.
I was burning.
The magic question.
I was burning. I really did. And when I visualized the walls, I kept them all in line.
Uh-huh.
When I meditated, they were all the same. They were all the same. One was not greater than the other.
Great.
Take that to that.
Lots of heat.
Yes.
Anyone else get warm with it?
Extreme.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The heat is a good sign because, as we say in the teachings of the Philosophers of Nature, in Alchemy and Qabalah, that heat or fire is the energy which gives us energy for initiation. So, if you feel in the heat, that's good. If not, don't worry about it. Keep it up. Trust me, it'll come. The exercise is really good. You can do that every day, twice a day if you like. You can spend a little less time on it if you like as well. We spent more time because I wanted you to really get a sense of where these centers are. Often you will spend maybe a week or two just developing the top one, and then a week or two focusing on the bottom one, and then a week or two on the center one, and then start linking them all up. Those are the important ones because those are your poles. You want to have a good contact with this cosmic energy, and you want to have a good outlet for it, which is the feet. So you can take your time and go easy with it, and it is a potent exercise, and you can develop it to greater levels of subtlety. I'm hoping that we can, well, there is a lot of material on that, by the way, in the Aura project on alchemy and Kundalini and Qabalah. We have different insights on that, so those of you who are interested, it's up here. I'm hoping to also develop something else where we talk about the body of light. It's very important to develop these psychic spheres and centers and a sense of your aura if you want to go on to that. And the body of light is something which is very underrated in Western occultism, and that is where you actually create a psychic body or simulacrum of yourself and use that for different esoteric activities. And it's not quite the same as an astral body. It's much more potent, much more quickly to do. You can develop it fairly quickly. They just have a habit of wanting to act on their own. So it can be a bit of a bugger. But it's something you hear about a lot, mostly in Tibetan circles. But we do have a tradition of it in the West. Any questions on that exercise? Any questions on the circulation, the directions?
Oh, the third, the first one was this way, right? Down and then back.
From the top, from your on your left-hand side, top down, up the right, and then back to front.
That was
Okay.
the third one.
Well, then what you do is you... well, there is another one that they throw in there. They throw in a spiral on occasion where you spiral it up. But that's optional. It's different schools don't always teach you that way. We did it with kind of the thrust where it just flows up. But you also then take it from the top and you circle it out, big and wide, large, to form a sphere. Why do we do that? Well, what did we do earlier when we talked about the pentagram rituals? We created a psychic space. The reality is when you do this exercise, you can expand your aura to the point where it fills that psychic space, so that your aura is, 6 or 8 feet in every direction. Okay? And then, of course, you can get it bigger and stronger. That's one of the reasons we do that. The stronger your aura is, the healthier it is, the healthier you will be. And psychically potent as well. So.
Can I ask about the breathing?
Yeah.
Because to breathe up, breathe in while coming up, or going down, that's what it was. Going down the left side and breathing in,
Mm-hmm.
and then breathing out and coming in. It seemed like that was the opposite direction.
Don't worry about it.
Can I reverse the breathing? Because
Make
doesn't
it
feel right.
make it comfortable for yourself. Don't worry about the breathing. The important part is the flow of the energy. I just want you to try and link it to your breathing to go easier. If it doesn't, I won't worry about it. Just as long as you have you're imagining the energy flow. You'll find with a lot of these exercises that your breathing will naturally adjust itself. That it just will suddenly shift or change. So, yeah, that's a good question. Really good point. Yeah. Anyone else? Any questions on it or why we do it? Yeah? Anything? No? Okay. It's time. Time is the only thing that will allow you to become good at that. And the only thing is experience. I'd like to hear from you if you do decide to do this exercise, say, every day for the next 30 days, the next month. Let me know what your experiences are. You'll find that what you can do then is you can begin to add the divine names for each of these spheres, and you can even begin to visualize the entire tree of life in your aura. And of course, the more complex it becomes and the more you deal with it, the more you open up these psychic centers, and the farther you are able to go on your path of personal interior initiation, at least with this method. Okay. Another technique which we use somewhat extensively is assumption of the God form. This depends on who you talk to. Some people say this is one of those secret esoteric techniques that you shouldn't spill out. It was only meant to be given out in the higher grades, lest ye fry the brains of the neophytes and disciples. I could never figure that out. I figured either you're good at it and you get results, or you're not good and you won't, you know? And what you do is you imagine something and you act as if you were that thing. That's pretty much it. As a matter of fact, there's a whole school of psychotherapy where the technique is called acting as if. Yeah? So you get someone who wants to be more confident. So you say, well, if you want to be more confident, who's someone that's confident to you? Pick someone that you think appears as confident, that you see always wins.
Don Knotts.
Don Knotts. Bad move, but a good idea. I was thinking more like Marlon Brando. And what you do is say, okay, so what you're telling me then is you want to be more like Marlon Brando, right? You're saying, yeah, okay, yeah, that's right, that's what I want to be. So you have the person imagine themselves as if they were Marlon Brando. And you create a scenario in which they act, they say, well, what's the problem? Well, who are you having trouble acting with? Well, I'm having trouble with my boss. I need to be more assertive with my boss. Well, that may not be a good thing, but we'll work with that scenario. So now we get the person, they're in therapy. We're assuming they're in therapy, okay, when this is happening. Or they will be after it happens, that's for sure.
Apocalypse now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, but we can see where you're heading with this, right? And you have them imagine the situation where they need to confront or address an issue with their superior. And right before it happens, you say, okay, now, if you were Marlon Brando, how would you address this? And they imagine themselves as that's who they are, and they work this out. Now, the problem here is twofold. One is you don't want them putting on a funny Marlon Brando accent. You want them to, although that may help in the beginning, what you want them to do is to begin to integrate the idea that these characteristics are part of their personality and they can bring them out. And work with it through imagination. Well, we do the same thing in magic, except instead of picking a celebrity or a movie star or someone from history, although you could do that, say, with Saint Germain, or you could do that with Paracelsus, or Cagliostro, or some other nifty dude like that. We pick what are called god forms. And these are images from the Egyptian or the Greco-Roman pantheons, but in Pawn they use mostly Egyptian, because they represent ideals. So they're a little less tainted than if you were picking a human personality. They represent more abstract ideals, in that sense a little more pure. So you perform your ritual, or maybe not. You do the exercise that we've just done, and you imagine the god in front of you or behind you or somewhere. But at some point, you imagine the god so clearly and so perfectly that you identify with it. You see through the god's eyes. The god's hands are your hands. You and it are one. And you can get insights into very interesting esoteric problems that way. Has anyone done anything like this ever before? I know you have, and I know you have. And you probably haven't used God forms, but you've done it with other folks, or other people, or things. You can even do it with a plant, or an animal, or an object. Because in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it says, which is basically a manual of assumption, it says, wherever your mind is, that's what you are. Whatever you focus your mind on, you take on the quality and characteristics of that thing, person, or place. It's that simple. So we have to be careful now about what we focus our attention on. And as said in the one article in the Stone, about path working, anything can become a path working. Anything can become a focus for our attention. So if you're listening to that country western music where all they do is sing about how their dog is lame and their woman left them and their truck doesn't run anymore and life just sucks and where's the moonshine? Well, then you go join the guys in the jazz bar singing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. You take on these characteristics within your psyche. When you watch TV, you focus on something, you concentrate on it, even if only passively, and you nurture those seed ideas within yourself. So you have to be careful about the ideas you let into yourself and become more aware of it. That's all. Just become more aware of it. Would you like to now have a trial run at growing your godhood? Now, be... What?
Let's not be Marlon Brando.
No, we're not. We got something even better. Now, being Kabbalists and good alchemists, who do you think we're going to use, Russ?
Marlon Brando?
Don Knotts. Just, you know, Sue, I just want to let you know that Russ told me more about his psyche than I ever cared to know at that moment, you know, and I really, my heart goes out to you in a way that maybe we just can't imagine right now. Okay.
Let's do Crowley.
I was on the website. Well, I was on the internet, and someone asked a question. Who is Aleister Crowley? And I promptly typed out the reply. He's the whacked out granddaddy of the British and American occult revival of the early part of this century. Needless to say, only one person really got it, but they really got it. So they enjoyed that. In order to do assumption of the God form, and I think what I'm going to have us do is something smaller first before we move into this. Because I want you to be flexible with this. I don't want you to think it's just limited to deific images. I want you to imagine. How many of you have a pen? Take your pen. And I want you to close your eyes and relax. And I want you to focus all of your consciousness in the pen. Not as though you are looking at the pen. Begin from that perception or perspective. Begin from the person looking at the pen. But I want you to actually move into the pen, to see the world from the viewpoint of the pen. What it's like to be the pen being held by this hand. That's this big shift, a different shift. So I want you to go with that for a few minutes now. You can close your eyes, you can not close your eyes. Find your way of working this. Okay, find your way of dealing with it. Really get into the characteristics, the smoothness of the plastic, the hollow point. Examine it if you need to. Really look closely at it. The detail. The key to this exercise is the detail. At some point, you'll be so engrossed in a detail, the breakthrough will occur. And the key is to shift into the perspective of the pen. Its color, its weight, its texture, all of those things. Now that I've have you there and you're relaxed, if you've had some insight about the nature of being pen, that's fine. If not, you can move on to something else now. It could be a crystal or a stone which you have in your possession, or one which you've worked with extensively. Or it could be your cat or your dog. Or if you like, you can even do a friend or a relative or a neighbor, someone you know. Build up in detail the face, the hair, everything about them, and take it on as though it were a mask. As though you were wearing their skin or their fur, if it's your pet. And just keep building the image, being careful to pay attention to the details, and note what insights may occur. Feel their feet on the floor, what clothes they might be wearing, or their paws if it's your personal animal, how they would be acting or looking, little habits that they might have. If they wear glasses. Okay, and now breathe deep and get rid of their skin, if you will, and come back. I was talking to Russ a few weeks ago, and we were talking about different stuff. And I mentioned this to support you would-be plant people and to cast it down on the metalheads in the audience. I had an experience, because we exchange energy with anything we focus on. We become more aware of it. Okay. We take on its characteristics. We assume it. And I was talking to Russ a few weeks ago about an experience I had with a tincture that I had, in which I was putting the salts back into. And at one point it said to me, enough. I mean, it was just like someone saying, I'm done. I'm full. I'm full. It's like I'm fed and I'm full. That was the message. I'm fed, I'm full. And so these inanimate things, that we deal with, there might be more to them. As John was saying, there's an energy there we can tap into. So whatever we focus on, we become. We take on its characteristics. We share with it, whether it be the pen or your friends. How many of you found something funny? Someone was laughing about the pen. How many of you had some kind of insight with either of these experiences? Had a sense of being there with whatever? Yeah.
I focused on the pencil, but then I changed it.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, this will be an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it would work. But I took on his face and his body.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got through it, and I felt still. When I turned around, he did this. Now, I just want to know, did you...
Same thing. Only reverse, that's all.
See, I mean, I was experimenting here, and I didn't know how, was I projecting, or did you actually See, that's what I'm getting at.
Just switched.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was actual, when I turned to look at him, he immediately went like that.
That gives a whole new meaning to the word cross-dressing. A harmony or rapport was built up somewhere along the line that allowed that quick exchange to take place. So you were vibrating on the same frequency with one another.
Well, I felt something about the heart.
Well, the point is that you developed a frequency or vibrated on the same level where you could have an exchange of information or of ideas. Someone else had their hand raised. Who else? With the pen or either of them, yeah.
With the pen, I suddenly realized I was really afraid of being dropped.
Being dropped.
And how passive and how helpless and out of control I felt.
Yeah, right.
I felt the same thing about the pen. It really wasn't very well supported.
And
It was a very delicate, tenuous situation.
And what has this done for you now for your future relationship to your writing implements?
Stop waiting.
Not sure.
You're not sure. Who else? Anyone do their animal? Oh, it's Sue.
I just, the thought came to me how strange it was to be tall and thin.
Have you been talking to my wife?
It was really weird. I mean, I was just very tall and thin.
It's funny. I mean, you never know what will come to you. Anyone else?
I had one on the pen. This is for adults only. I was aware of the very maleness of the pen.
Of your pen, yes.
My pen.
You're telling me more about your psyche than I care to know, yeah.
And this is one of these that has a little thing that you push on the end and you stick it out. And then this is an erection that it gets.
Getting all this ready.
Not quite done yet.
You've been studying Freud a lot lately.
Blackmail this guy.
That's funny. I was assuming him and making him say that.
That's very good. Thank you. Thank you. Russ made me do it. Two more. And then.
Wait a minute, I wasn't done.
Oh, this gets better? I don't want it to get better. I want to. Okay.
There is a ball in the ballpoint pen.
Okay.
And but anyway, the main thing was it was the humor. It was constantly laughing about this constant orgasm it's having while I'm writing.
You know, and we'll talk later about a good therapist I can recommend for you. Yeah.
I had a different experience when I wrote, when the pen wrote, it was really painful. The ball writing on the paper was really painful.
Yeah. So what you do is, you see, here we have, in a way, what we do is we're talking earlier about how we anthropomorphize things. I mean, the pen doesn't really experience pain, but yet, when we start to shift our perspective, a lot of things shift with it. And you know, I don't know whether you're serious or whether you're joking, but a lot of times the kind of things that you're discussing will come up, where a lot of things that we think are completely unconnected start to shift to the focus of our consciousness. You know, and how this symbolic language starts unleashing a lot of stuff. Two more, and then we'll move on to Toth, to our buddy.
Mine's very brief. I had a pencil, and where I was in the very center of the pencil where the lead is, and it was very interesting. You know, just the dynamic, the visuals of visualizing. I guess I was obviously very small. Where I was coming from was very small, the whole interior. But what was so interesting, I was holding the pencil, and it was the feeling of this very large, warm something.
That's what I had.
Holding it, which was kind of an interesting perspective.
And that's you. That's your hand.
Right, but still, but I was looking at it from the.
That's from another.
Yeah, from the other.
Yeah.
I had an ink pen, and I got inside the ink pen, and I started feeling like the trickster. And I thought, you know, you've been looking back at this body up here, has been controlling me all this time, so I'm going to really screw up the next thing that you write by squirting ink all over it. God knows where that came from.
Well,
Maybe it's Hermes.
That's right, it's Hermes. Well, now what we do is, and I encourage you to do this with your apparatus that you work with, your tools, anything that you're really engaged with, is begin to understand your relationship to it and how it affects your perspective on things. And also how you can use it to strengthen your perspective on things. When we do a God form, we do all of these things because we have to take on a form, just as we did before. Did anyone do an animal? Anyone? You did an animal? How was that with animals?
With my dog.
Yeah?
To my daughter.
Your daughter? Yeah. Did you actually get a sense of being there at some point?
Yeah, I mean, the very last part was when I put her to bed, I could see me looking at her.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt the love that she felt for me, which was pretty cool.
And what's neat is when you, like, the more you do something like this, the more you'll actually see it. Like now there's kind of a lot of projection and a lot of stuff and intuitive stuff going on. But you can actually, I remember I was with, like you had this experience where you saw each other with a friend of mine who's a roommate, and I knew exactly at that moment what he played on his guitar. Yeah. But now we're going to shift it now to where we move this, so we take this to a new level, make it a little more complex, because we're going to add these deity forms or god forms. And the one we're going to use is Thoth Hermes. It's important to try and add as much color to it as possible. I will describe these things to you if you don't know the colors. And there's a way to cheat. What's nice about all this is you can cheat by focusing on a detail. I have found that the breakthrough often occurs when you're really focused on a detail. Whether it be his nose or the writing implement or something else, that's when your energies are really in one spot. Now, Thoth is a bird. It has a bird's head. So a bird's neck and a beak and a little, what are the nostrils there, openings for air. He holds a clay tablet, something to write with, wears a kilt basically, and has bracelets on the wrists, ankles, upper arms. His skin would be golden or possibly blue, depending on how he's pictured, and wears this massive crown. You can imagine it simply as a crescent, if you like, with these elements in it. This would be a solar disk, and this would be two feathers, the ostrich feathers. You could make those red. So you can manipulate these symbols a little bit to help them fit your visualization. So I want you to look at that for a while. I want you to get a sense of the hood that he's wearing. It's not a hood, but it's more of a wig. Okay, it comes down, a head covering. Not a wig. What do they call those things? The head covering, the headpiece. But what's the name of it? It's like a hood. It's cloth. It's a cloth covering, and it comes down over the amice, over the heads and shoulders. Get a sense of the bracelets, because these are things we can identify with easily and quickly without wondering if they're culturally, historically right. A sense of the kilt, holding the writing implement and the writing tablet, and the nose, the beak. You have a beak, and you have a long, thin neck and a small head because you're a bird. And you have little feathers up here as well, and bird's eyes. And get a good sense of that and develop it now. Yes?
Is the fact that he's left-handed significant?
I never really noticed.
Look back of the room, it looks like a saxophone player.
Yeah, I never really thought about it.
Okay.
It might be. Work with it.
Exactly.
The fact that he is left-handed may be a problem for you, so pay attention to that. Okay? Does everyone have this down pretty well?
Can you go through the colors a little bit?
Okay. Well, how about close your eyes and I'll run through them.
What's this thing hanging down on the floor?
Right here?
Yeah, what is it?
Looks like a tail.
That I couldn't tell you. It is probably his, sometimes he's left with a phoenix wand. That could be it. I would ignore that. A kris is a knife. But think of the wrap, okay? Because when you get these, you may be pulling them out of a book where you don't have a lot of description. So you got to work some of this up on your own. Pay attention to what you do know, and you do know the beak, okay? You do have the writing implements. You do know the bracelets. gold and blue and red are the colors of the bracelets, with stripes going this way. Yeah. So close your eyes and imagine yourself being the beak-headed god. And wow, what's that like to have a long, thin neck covered with little feathers and golden flesh that holds the writing implements of the gods? He hears all that the gods say and tells it to humanity, the intermediary between men and the divine. You feel a slight pressure on the top of your head from the crown, evenly balanced. You know that it moves up with 2 red ostrich feathers on either side in a brilliant golden disc in the center on a crescent moon. And then you see your beak. What's it like when you open your mouth with a beak? How does your throat move? How does your face move? You feel the kilt, the wrap around your legs to just above your knees. You can make it orange if you like, with blue accents. And the nemes that you wear on your head, nemes you wear on your head is blue and white and orange as well, with golden highlights. It drapes down over your shoulders and you feel the hot sand beneath your feet. Hold this image, develop it, explore yourself, look at yourself. What is it like to be Thoth Hermes, messenger of the gods? Pay attention to the details. Feel the cloth nemes on your neck and shoulders. Feel the metal bracelets on your wrists and ankles and arms. Feel the beak, the slight pressure and weight of the crown, the tablet that you hold and the writing implement that you scratch its surface with. Maybe there's a message there for you on the tablet. The hot sand beneath your feet. What is it like to blink when you have the eyes of a bird? Now breathe deep and say goodbye to Thoth and thank you for whatever you may have learned. And become more aware of the room and yourself in the chair. And stretch a little bit. And I wanted you to do all three so that you could see the progression or the difference, the development of ideas, and how it goes. Because it's not a simple technique that we think we only need to do with deific images. We can do it with anything. Or also, just because we just do it with the little simple things doesn't mean we can't do it with great and grand concepts as well. How was that for you? What any nifty insights? Anyone get the key to the Philosopher's Stone? Hmm? Now, all your noses were growing, by the way. Yeah. Especially Russ's, but then he lies a lot. So yes.
Yeah, I felt lonely because I felt that if people saw me, they would be frightened.
Yeah.
Because I was part human enough to relate, but the head would frighten them.
Yeah. Okay. That's something interesting. I'd go with that next time I do it.
I think he really is a saxophone player. No one ever listens to him anyway. He just blows his horn and people invent their own interpretation of all this stuff. So he's just bored.
Yes.
One thing I noticed is that I think it's easier to assume a form of an object that's close to you, like a human being, than it is to assume an object like a pencil. Although it's simpler, it's harder to identify with an inanimate object.
Yeah.
There's less detail to capture your imagination.
And there's less consciousness.
There's less consciousness.
Yeah.
I noticed a couple of things. First of all, I realized that I didn't have nearly the appetite that as a human I would have, but that I liked water a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of insight into how the other gods listen to him a lot more than they do to some of the other gods, but he's not nearly as loud as Atum-Ra or Horus or some of the others. His is done, they listen to him because he's got incredible insight into all things that happen. His head moves very quickly, but his mind is so sharp that it can take in a scene quickly, and that's one of the reasons why he's able to be a scribe for the events that take place with the gods.
And you had asked something that's important. You said, well, what color is it? That's how I describe the colors. So what we do in Kabbalah is we cheat. When we don't know the colors of something, we cheat. We use the color scales of the tree, basically, and the complementary colors. So because Thoth belongs to the sphere of Hod, and the color for Hod is what? Orange. What's the complementary color of orange? Those become the base colors. And with Egyptian gods, you're safe. You can always make their bodies gold. We have the flesh of gold, says the Book of the Dead. So you're safe there. And with some other gods, you can do blue. But point being is that you have certain baselines to work with. You know. Anyone else from this side? Any?
It's hard to breathe through that nose.
Hard to eat corn.
Hard to eat corn, yeah. Hard to breathe.
Eats fish.
Yeah. It just.
I was actually having a physical problem.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff.
You could hear me over here snuffling.
This stuff, you will respond to these things physically in many ways.
Yeah.
Because it's there. We like to think of there being a break. Yeah, and there isn't. Yes, sir, Jack.
I didn't get any body changes or anything, but I had a very vivid picture of the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that came out real predominant. There was a necklace on there of gemstones,
Mm-hmm.
and that stayed there. And then just before it was over with, it changed to a gold coin instead of gemstones.
And we didn't describe the necklace.
No,
He
no.
wears one, but we didn't describe it.
No, we
That's
didn't.
what I
Yeah.
predominant, necklace.
So these are things to keep in mind, and you may have to, you may not get some vivid flash of technical information. You may have to keep these notes and see how these gemstones and coins over time develop, and what that means to you to be wearing a necklace of gems or coins. So a lot of this is going to be very personal unfoldment, but you'll find as the more and more you do it, the more direct relationship you'll get a sense with these powers and potencies. Yeah.
On the notepad, I saw a symbol, but I'm not sure. It was a square, and in the square, there was another square, and it was like an indentation in the center. And between the inner and outer square, it was rounded. And it was a square, but it ended too quickly before I could, get into it and find out what that meant.
I'd have to see you draw it out to even offer a suggestion, but these are things that will come, and you got to pay attention to it and use it as the key to your next meditation. Yeah? Okay. Okay. That is a technique which offers you unlimited potential, unlimited opportunity to do a lot of nifty things. Doesn't it, Russ? And the choice is up to you. These techniques, as you will find out tomorrow when you hear the lecture on the Portae Lucis method, don't always have to be terribly complicated in order to get very profound results. There's a lot of neat stuff going on that you can access very quickly and easily. And these are just some of it. I hope that you've enjoyed our discussion of the Qabalah material. I hope that you've taken away some practical experiences. I wanted you to. I know this was a little difficult because we did a lot of work, but some of you, since you didn't have background, I wanted you to experience some of the phases more slowly. Please feel free to grab me at any time during the weekend to, if you have any questions on this or related material. If you're interested in the Aura project, we have copies of it up here, and has the questionnaire and the protocols and the things you need to follow. You're free to take it if you think you're seriously going to want to participate, not just for curiosity. And if you need any help or discussion at any time, really, with any of your Kabbalistic work, you can get a hold of me, and I'll see if I can help you in some fashion. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much. I think one of the other things is the ORIA project is not limited to PLN members.
Not at all.
We didn't think that it's necessary to limit participation to, you've paid dues here, you haven't paid dues here. If you're interested in want to work with other people. So if you have associates that you think would like to work with us, that's the real interest.
As a matter of fact, the only thing I encouraged, I had 4 people who are not members of Aura sign up for this particular project this weekend. They were all very enthusiastic about the exercises we did and wanted more. And I told them, I said, the only thing I ask is that you seriously consider joining the Philosophers of Nature, because that's how we're able to get some funding to pay for the expenses on this, even if that just means joining and getting the fundamentals course. Doesn't have to be anything else. But you don't have to do it if you don't want to. We'd rather you participate than not. So if you've got friends who would like this kind of material, feel free to take it home to them, and just have them contact me, though, so we know who's doing what. Okay?
Thank you for your enthusiasm.